Hey guys, this is Dr. Mike Wemeng. Welcome to another edition of Bootstrap MD, the podcast for healthcare entrepreneurs. I am doing this podcast on location. I'm currently at the Passive Income MD conference put on by the illustrious Peter Kim. This year we are doing real estate and entrepreneurship, and I've been invited to speak on a few panels. Pretty excited about that. And if you're listening and you're at the event, hopefully I had a chance to meet with you. And just another reason why it's important to kind of get out of your comfort zone and to come to events like this, and especially if you're a physician and want to get into entrepreneurship, I can't think of a better place to do it than with other like-minded doctors. Now, today I'm going to be talking about a book that had a tremendous impact on my life. It was written by MJ DeMarco in 2011 with the subtitle of the book, Crack the Code to Wealth and Live Rich for a Lifetime. Now, the backstory of MJ DeMarco: he was a founder of a media company, and he created an online forum called the Fastlane Forum that had 80,000 members, or currently has 80,000 members of entrepreneurs. His companies included starting up limos.com and limoforsale.com. Was involved in profitable multi-million-dollar enterprises arising from Phoenix, where he lived. And when the book came out, nobody, at least I didn't know much about him, but the book really resonated with me at the time. He has had subsequent books coming after that, but I really feel this was his best work, his first one. I think it really hit a home run because he covered different principles that affected me. And what I want to do on this episode is to see how these principles and how it can relate to you, the healthcare or physician entrepreneur. So let's go over these concepts that he talked about and see how it can relate to you. So a principle that I learned in the Millionaire Fastlane, it was known as the law of affection, and that not affection, but effection, EFFECTION. What the law of affection means is that basically the more lives you affect in an environment you control, the more wealthier you will get. So, as you know, as in this world of social media, we're in a world of influencers, right? And we have people who are using social media to have millions of followers, and if they mention a brand or they're wearing a certain type of clothing, they'll make overnight sales. So it's really easy to understand. Again, this is back in the time where maybe social media wasn't as prevalent as it is today. And just goes to show you that one of the important things that you can do your business is really work on your brand. And for many of us, ourselves is our own brand. And so as a physician entrepreneur, there are certain businesses where you're going to have to be your own brand. And what that allows you to do is it can increase your influence. It can increase people who know, like, and trust you. Now, for myself, I don't necessarily want to be my own brand, but it's kind of one of those things that you have to do. It's kind of a necessary evil if you're in a business where you're selling your own knowledge, your own expertise. So we talked about becoming an infopreneur, where you are using your knowledge to help others. And one of the ways that you can do this is by increasing your brand, increasing your social media, putting out content that people can understand that you are an expert. And that was one of the principles that I learned from the book, is this law of affection. The second principle is the Commandment of Need. And essentially what this means is that if you want to make millions of dollars, you have to impact millions of people. And this is the idea about when you have a goal that you want to do, like what do you want to do to get accomplished? What can you do? And so here at the conference, I think it's a great example, is I'm interacting with some entrepreneurs who are changing the way medicine is doing. There was one doctor here who creates a type of dishware that's safe for kids. And although she is not in clinical medicine anymore, she is impacting more and using her position as a physician, because her philosophy is she wants to help as many children as possible. That is her goal in life. And now she says, I'm still a doctor, but I'm just impacting even more people than I did as a pediatrician. So if you want to have revenue, increase revenue in your life, it's not about affecting thousands of people, affecting millions of people. It's what we call a big, hairy, audacious goal, BHAG, right? These are things that you need to think of. It's like when I'm helping and coaching clients and students about starting their own business, it's like, what's the biggest goal that you can get that actually can kind of scare you? And most of the time we think small, and it's okay, when you're having your imagination, to start thinking bigger. So what goals do you have in your business? What could you be doing to impact others? And that's essentially what the commandment of need is all about. We know that, like, for example, I'm in the healthcare software market, and our goal is to help other business owners, medical businesses, using our software. And we can impact millions. We can help within the software. We're helping even millions of patients. And yes, we're gonna, our goal obviously is to make money. That's the goal of any type of business. But it's the impact that you can be making, where it really, when you really realize what impact that you could be doing. Another one is the commandment of scale. So what is the commandment of scale? What do they say about that? It's basically saying that what he discusses as the law of income in the commandment of scale is that you're paid for how hard you are to replace. So how many times have we seen like corporate layoffs, right? And it's usually the last one hired is the first one fired. And when I talk to physicians, we for years we said we're not being replaced. But then a little something called COVID happened, where we would have doctors who were in furloughs who were practicing medicine, where they felt that they weren't as essential, essentially were replaced. It's important to, what can you do to increase your value? What are things that you could be doing to increase your value to an employee? And as most physicians are employees. So what skills could you be learning? And that's, for example, I've learned the skill of AI because we've talked about in the past, I would rather be on the side of someone who can execute artificial intelligence than to be replaced by artificial intelligence. And for me, I felt that as a skill, although I'm not employed by anyone, that's a skill that I need to learn. So what can you be doing to help make sure that you're difficult to replace? That's the importance of understanding the law of income, and the importance is make sure that you're not being easily disregarded and easily replaced.
As a doctor, I wasn't used to asking for help, especially when it came to subjects outside of medicine. But then I found physiciancoaches.com. In an instant, I found hundreds of experts to help me in all aspects of life. On areas I was afraid to ask: dealing with burnout, starting a side gig, money management, even help with my marriage. And the best part? Nearly all experts are physicians themselves. After reading their profile and a quick chat, I knew I found the right mentor for me. At physiciancoaches.com, help from professional colleagues is just a click away.
Another one they talked about is making sure you have a business that's hard to replicate. This is all known as the Commandment of Entry. I've used the topic about, if you want to be in a business, like, how can you make yourself unique? So I've talked with a number of doctors here who want to open their own med spa, and they're saying, like, what can you do that's different from all the other med spas that are open? It's about having a business that is difficult to replicate. For example, if you're a plastic surgeon or a cosmetic surgeon or let's say you're a dermatologist, you have something that not a lot of med spas can do, is you can offer different services that someone, let's say a registered nurse, can't do because you're a physician. That is one way that you can make yourself unique. Perhaps you're in a business that you have special access to, like special or medications that other medical spas wouldn't be able to access. perhaps you could develop something in your business that is proprietary, where you're creating certain technologies that are difficult to replicate, creating more barriers of entry. Are there things that you could be doing, such as trademarking your own products, trademarking your own services, that, again, is another reason for difficult to replicate? So think about that when you're starting a business. You want to be the one, everybody's kind of doing all the same thing, because that's how no one can be differentiated. So it's important to think about these things when you're starting your business. Another important principle is using networks to create your wealth. And I'm sure you've heard this quote, and I've said it, many successful entrepreneurs said that, is your network is your net worth. Meaning it's important that you utilize professional networks for better opportunities in entrepreneurship. Case in point, I'm here right now at PAMD Con, and it takes a lot of money. It takes some time, people away from their families to come in. There's over 400 doctors here right now. But I further would guess that these doctors are having more opportunities to learn from one another. It's almost like the amount of information that's coming is like from a fire hose that they're doing. And they're getting connected to different resources, to different connections. There is something where it's like, what kind of makes you successful? And we could say that in business, it's like you're the most talented doctor, right? So you could have the highest grades in medical school, but the one who actually usually ends up getting that government contract, or is usually getting that, access to special advertising platforms, or has connections or been invited to being a guest on certain podcasts, is usually ones who they've actually been in the same room with, they've broken bread with, they've gone belly to belly, so to speak, and are able to get those deals made. Many times, this is called, the good old boys club, right? Wealthy men would be able to get those deals, and they weren't necessarily the most successful business or had the best Yelp reviews or what. They just happened to be in that room, and those people that they network with were known, liked, and trusted, and that's how deals get done. Usually this was done behind closed doors at a mastermind meeting, or on the country club, playing golf. Those were the things that are going on. But these days, and I know we're in the world of Zoom, the time of Zoom calls, it's really important. When I've seen accelerations in my business, it's when I've actually got my butt on a plane, flown somewhere to meet like-minded people who can really accelerate my business. So it's important for you to start using professional network for better opportunities in entrepreneurship. It could be something like joining entrepreneurs organization in your local business, or local city and town, EO, or joining other different masterminds, because those are where people are going to, business is going to get done, and people are going to be, their businesses are going to thrive because of it. Another important principle that I learned in the MJ DeMarco's book, The Millionaire Fastlane, is play to win, not to play. Meaning, play the game to win and don't settle for mediocrity. And this might be difficult to hear from doctors, because we generally are higher achievers. I know some of you are what they call gunners, right? That you want to get the highest score, and we can be very competitive. And when you're looking at successful entrepreneurs, is what do they do to become the best in their field? It's going after and not settling, just being average. When you look at somebody like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, tremendous athletes in their field, and you've probably heard about how competitive they were. Their competitiveness is legendary. It's like when they play on the basketball court, and not just in a playoff game or a NBA regular season game. It could be like a celebrity basketball tournament. It could be a pickup game in their local neighborhood. You'll hear interviews, if you've ever heard of Kobe Bryant, he says he's a killer, like, because he wants to basically destroy that person that he's playing. Not necessarily for the money; it's just their competitiveness is off the charts. And when I see, entrepreneurs who are really successful, they have that same mentality. It's not to destroy their competition, at least for some that I know, but historically there have been people like that, like Steve Jobs and things like that, where they literally say, "I'm going to be the big kahuna, the big whale in this market, and I'm going to destroy the rest of you." And I'm not saying you have to be as cutthroat as that, but like, for example, in my business, I do have this competitive edge. It's like, I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to do whatever they can to outwork you. And that's going to have in my head, I may not say this, I might say that with a smile. But if I'm seeing like the competition and they're doing some things that is taking literally, um, you know, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I win, because that's affecting my family. And that's sometimes what you have to take, being an entrepreneur. And how many times have you settled for mediocrity in what you do? And so this is why you see things that, especially in businesses that are disruptive, like, for example, like Uber was a very disruptive business. I don't know if you watch their shows based upon, these brands, and they're ruthless in terms of what they do. But sometimes that's a game that you have to play, and that's what MJ DeMarco teaches in his book. And another principle called Commandment of Responsibility, and that's taking responsibility for your finances, because no one else will. I was recently on a panel today. In fact, we were talking about hiring, and when we hire somebody and something happens and an employee is, just didn't meet up to your standards and you had to let them go, or perhaps they did something to your business that was hurtful to your business and that you let them go. Other times you may hire somebody and it just didn't work out. Now, many people would be able to blame that person because they were a bad person or they're just a bad employee, but ultimately you have to be the one responsible for it because you're the one who hired them. And when I'm looking at like letting go of somebody, ultimately it's on me. It's like, what did I do? I didn't do enough to help them. I didn't train them enough, or I didn't educate them enough. The buck stops with me. So that comes in, the commandment of responsibility comes with when you're hiring or any decision that you make. When, I've worked with some doctors where they found out that, let's say, an office manager stole money, took money under the table. Talked with one doctor, she lost $400,000. For years, this office manager that she trusted, they were around her kids, slowly was taking money from them. And ultimately, yes, that person did something bad. Perhaps they could go to jail for that. But it was your responsibility. When I was talking with her, it was like, I just trusted her implicitly with it. I wasn't paying attention to it. So they didn't understand all of the financial aspects, and they didn't understand that they were losing $400,000 slowly. Ultimately, what can you do what should you have done that's going to help you in the future to prevent that? So that's what the commandment of responsibility, and that's what happens as an entrepreneur, is that you ultimately have to be responsible. You're the one who has to take the blame of whatever happens in your business. And then finally, one of my favorite principles that he says in the book, MJ DeMarco's The Millionaire Fastlane, is the Commandment of Time. And that's detaching yourself from time constraints. Meaning that, can you build a business that doesn't involve your direct involvement? I say this all the time. I see doctors who are solo practitioners, they're responsible. If they don't work, they're not making any money. If they take vacation, they're losing money. Their money is made by seeing all the patients. If all your money is made by how many patients you see, that's a business that you need to get out of right away. So can you create a business that doesn't involve your direct involvement all the time? That may involve delegating responsibilities, maybe hiring mid-level providers to see the patients if you're in a practice. Let's say you're doing coaching, which involves one-on-one coaching. Could you do something where you could do group coaching and you're able to scale? So it doesn't matter how many people are on that Zoom call. You could add more members, increasing your revenue without sacrificing your time. those are examples of time constraints. So when you're creating a business, think about what businesses involve that don't reflect that. It could be things like software. It could be things like group coaching. It could be things like information products, courses. Those are examples of detaching yourself from time constraints. And one of my favorite examples of businesses that are out there. So those were my principles that I've learned from MJ DeMarco, The Millionaire Fastlane. If you haven't read it, I highly encourage you to read it. I think it'll be eye-opening for you. If you have read it, I'd like to know what your takeaways that you got from the book. For me, it was a game changer and something that I read from time to time again, just to keep myself aware about that there's wisdom in these books. They're not very expensive, and you can look at different lives of different entrepreneurs and see how that reflects on yours. This is Dr. Mike Wuming. Entrepreneurship will give you ups, it'll give you downs. Do something every day to get you closer to your goals and keep moving forward.